What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson. It is Tuesday, which on our calendar for this week means it's Thursday? Friday? What day is it today? It's Thursday, I guess, is what we're on. And we've got Erin Coscarelli with us with her practice report for this Thursday night football game against the Seattle Seahawks. Going to be an intense one, guys. You know, if you remember just, 5 weeks ago when they were playing this team back then, but it was a heck of a game. Erin, how we doing, and how's Woodland Hills?
What's going on, Ryan? Yeah, media availability gets obviously pushed up because we have an early game this week, Thursday night. So not normally here in Woodland Hills on a Tuesday. And a couple of surprises came down the pipeline. Sean McVay, Coach McVay, Rams head coach, not here at the facility. We did a Zoom media press conference at 8:30 this morning. Of course, obviously, a big congratulations to him and his wife, Veronica. They delivered a healthy baby boy yesterday, 6 a.m. We talked about it offline, how much McVay the last few weeks has been under duress, dealing with stress, which he talks about week in and week out. Good stress is good for you. But I mean, remember, he did not travel with the team because he was feeling sick right before they went to Arizona. Mike LaFleur almost had to call some plays because he might have had to have an early exit. And then a baby boy gets born. They scheduled it. And then now just so happens it's like a quick turnaround. This team has to go to Seattle, and very much even though they've locked up a playoff spot, still very much an important division game in terms of playoff seeding. So it's been a wild ride for McVay, and he's the first to give credit to everybody who helps him along the way. But just think about what he's up against personally, not just professionally.
Yeah, 100%. If I get to 6.5 hours instead of 7 hours, I am wrecked, and that's just one day. But in terms of the playoff seeding, this is a huge game. Obviously, they've locked up the spot, but in terms of the one seed, if the Rams win this game against Seattle, it goes from about 50% up to 90% that they'll have locked in that number one seed. Of course, that comes with a bye, which is super important. Maybe a little extra rest in there. I can't imagine McVay will be resting, but the players will at the very least. If they lose, it drops down to about 20%. Yeah, definitely important there. And congratulations to Coach McVay and the whole McVay family, growing 2 boys now. Oh, my goodness. He's going to have himself a little football team, I'm sure, by the end of it. Christian, I think it's Christian Andrew McVay is the official name. So we've got a Christian and a Jordan in the house. So on to actual football news, some injury news that McVay covered during the press conferences. What is up with Davante Adams' hamstring?
He was not officially saying one thing or another. He is going to be a DNP. He's not going to participate because of that hamstring injury, but he didn't rule him out. And he was asked, if he's going to hold out on activating him or not. And McVay didn't give anybody any clear indication what the plan was. And I think they were holding out hope in the sense of, if he is going to be okay, play him, they're going to watch it, they're going to see, but didn't give any real insight into the specifics, as McVay doesn't tend to. He's always protecting the player in terms of their health and what could potentially we might see come Thursday. But being that it's a quick turnaround and Davante re-aggravated a hamstring injury already, he was already coming into that game dealing with some sort of hamstring something. The question is, you have to wonder, with moving forward, playoff seeding mattering, do you put all hands on deck or do you rest some guys? Do you try to keep them in a position of where you can maybe stash them and then play them? Higbee and Havenstein also are not activated. They could if they wanted. They're on IR. He said, I think he kind of implied they're not up to game speed, so they're not going to put them in. And then we'll get into Akello, who was also injured, but now could be activated, and some interesting thoughts on that one. But as of right now, that's the only thing we really know about Davante. If he can play, if they can, I think they're just trying to monitor it and maybe get their hands around what exactly the injury is and if there's anything that can be done. But you have to wonder, would they start him? Would they play him knowing they did last week and he went down the field, and that's where you saw he kind of came up and it just didn't look good.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate timing. I mean, being on a short week, of course, but this is still a super important game for this team. And it's funny that they can secure that bye week, which would give them extra rest, but they might have to trot Davante out there occasionally, even just as a decoy. And do you put him at any kind of risk there for any? I'm not too necessarily worried about the Falcons. After a long bye. Why couldn't they get the Seahawks after a long bye instead of a short bye? I guess that's not how the dice rolled on that one. And it's but you got to have him for the playoffs. He's been such a huge part of the team, a bunch of points because of him. So really, it's going to be interesting. He said they're going to push it up to game time. I think you mentioned that. So I would not be surprised at all if he does not play in this game. But I think they want to. I think they want to play this out as long as possible, just so that Seattle has to game plan and keep that in their minds.
Good point.
And that's just gamesmanship. That I have no, all the kind of reporters are saying seems unlikely, and that's I'll trust them over McVay in these situations. Also, Braden Fiske, he was kind of included in the did not practice. McVay said he included him in kind of the game time decision as well, which is interesting. And I just started working on an article about Fiske, and I can't remember who at the moment, but they reported that he had a pretty good limp coming out of that last game. So McVay said ankle soreness on him. Havenstein, Higbee not in, and no word on Lake so far. He's also able to come back, so nothing new on that. So I'm guessing.
And those are all interesting storylines heading into this game, where when we had McVay during our presser this morning, one of the things that he just said, and I think it's very true, how smart and clever this chess match last game was. So round 2, now that there's some guys that are potentially missing or look a little different, this is the matchup. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, they talked a lot about 13 personnel. They talked about Kanata Mumfield, that in the event Davante is not active and not available, his role would increase, as well as Tutu, of course, who was just recently activated last week, as well as maybe we see more action out of Jordan Whittington. Oh my God,
Yes.
I can't speak right now. So I think that, they have the players, the playmakers, but what it was when it comes to Davante Adams on the goal line and in the red zone, there's no comparison. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, and luckily the fill-ins for Higbee and Havenstein have played really well. Colby Parkinson has really taken a step and is shining, getting a lot of attention for the catches and the touchdowns that he's had since Higbee has been out. And Warren McClendon, maybe not as celebrated, but has done a really, really good job. And his career trajectory has been really fun to watch. Not necessarily filling in very well in the previous years, but this year been pretty lights out, filling in there at
Mhm.
right tackle. So some hope that they won't have to draft highly to replace Havenstein, which makes different conversations longer. Akello still a weird one. Obviously, last game they were put into a ringer by those really talented receivers with the Lions. Why not have them dressed? I don't know. But they're heading up to Seattle to play this game. Rain all week long. It's going to rain, according to the forecast. It looks like it's going to rain all day long on Thursday, and then maybe in the evening we'll see what happens. Still a chance of rain, but I think you were saying they were asked a bit about how that affects their game planning.
Yeah, I was asked, how does it impact Stafford? And also the follow-up was nice to get your run game going, as we've seen the nice 1-2 punch in the backfield with Kyren Williams and, of course, Blake Corum emerging. I think, 4 touchdowns in 3 games. So certainly good to see those things elevated when you have an inclement weather type situation like Seattle, where I don't know, right? Tell me. I think the only 2 games the Rams have played in sort of balmy weather was the Carolina game, which they lost, and then the London game, which they won, but it really didn't rain that much. So this team's not really experienced in playing in wet weather, but it is what it is. And that was what Stafford was asked, and he responded, well, how granular do you want to get with this? And he just made the point that obviously, it's not as easy. It's not as easy. And he did say, look, both teams have to play in it, but obviously doesn't the advantage go to the team that is sort of more, every time it starts to rain, just like when I'm driving in LA, I get a little bit I get nervous. It's the
Yeah.
same thing when I watch the Rams team play in rainy weather. I'm like, hey, look, they're just, Los Angelinos are not used to driving in the rain. So therefore, we're probably not as effective when it comes to being commuters. Maybe the same can be said for a Rams football team. I do not know, but I just think that was a question that was asked. And we'll see on Thursday.
Yeah. Stuff gets weird out here when it starts raining. half the people are driving like there's nothing going on, and that's not safe. And then the other half are the grannies in the slow lane. I'm the granny
That's
in the
me.
slow lane, by
That's
the way.
me.
Yeah, 100%.
I
I'm not
see
getting in
people.
the car.
I see people whipping past me, and I'm like, you make it seem like your car has like stoppability, like it's dry weather. Just so you know, it's raining, tires, oil, slick. I'm sorry, I don't know who they are. They must not be from LA. They're people driving in from Baltimore or something. Cause like, how do you drive like that? I get so nervous. I am in the slow lane. And if given an opportunity, I'm most likely taking the streets. Like, I do not want to be on the freeway when it's raining. So
Yeah, and
sorry.
on one hand, I would say probably this would actually benefit the Rams because their running game has been so good. Usually, in my prep, I like to start on some kind of broad statistical things, like so. I look at DVA, success rate, EPA per play, things like that. DVOA is the Seattle Seahawks are 23rd in DVOA when running the ball. The Rams, number 1. You can stay accurate by just handing the ball off. You don't have to throw it around as much. So it might, that's the game planning I
Yeah.
would like to see, is ratchet it up. Maybe get Jarquez Hunter involved for the first time this year. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath on that, especially, going back to the Akello thing, they've had to make some weird decisions about who they're keeping on the active roster and who they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that is Jarquez Hunter, Tutu Atwell, or Akello
Mm-hmm.
Witherspoon,
Or Cardi.
Joshua Carty was another one as well. Just kind of tweaking those. I don't know. I just imagine their little audio sliders, and they're like, we're going to move. We're schematically, we're going to switch this up a little bit. But ultimately, I think you got to have more cornerbacks on the field, but that's just me. You know, Stafford was asked about what a quick transition this is. You asked him about this
Mhm.
quick transition. What's the hardest thing for him in that? You know, I think, you know, from listening to Sean McVay over the years, he hates these games. He does not like the quick transition. He likes his full time to luxuriate
Mhm.
in his game planning. I would be just like him. But anyway, what about Stafford?
Yeah. Well, you know, and also that was asked to, one of the coaches. I think it was asked to Stafford this morning, it's all a blur, but you just end up doing more walkthroughs, instead of real full game practices, and then obviously, you know, you get ready for game time. You just don't have a lot of time to probably evaluate your play, watch tape, and then sort of, strategize. But one of the things that was interesting, which DC Chris Shula said yesterday when somebody asked, he said, "Look, we both have the same amount of time." You know,
I
when it
like
comes to both teams, right? So it's true. At the end of the day, we both have the same amount of time. The Seahawks were playing Philip Rivers and the Colts the same time this past Sunday. So, you know, at the end of the day, just I think the advantage just goes to the team that's at home, doesn't have to travel. And again, we discussed the weather thing. But when we asked Stafford today, what is the more, I would say, challenging thing, even though you've been playing for so many years with the quick turnaround for him? He said it was the physicality of it, right? So he doesn't have as much downtime. Maybe can't cold plunge it. Can't get work done on him. My follow up I was so wanting to make was, how are you feeling now that we're 15, 16, you know, weeks, games into the season? Because he was sacked a couple times last week and looked like one of the times it was a little slow to get up, kind of, but so far he's been pretty durable. But that was what he said when we asked him, you know, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to a Thursday night matchup?
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. You know, I was listening to somebody talk about, you know, comparing and contrasting Matthew Stafford and Philip Rivers, and they were saying, you know, like you can't look down on Stafford and go like, oh, he's not playing. Oh, he's at the end of his career, you know. Whereas, you know, Philip Rivers, he's beyond the end of his career, you know. But you know, still moving around good and getting up, you know, not grimacing like he was even last year when he cracked some ribs, I believe. So it seems like they've protected him really well. He's protected himself really well, but he's going to take shots. That's just the way he plays the game. And this game,
Mhm.
you know, this defense is no joke. They've got some pass rushers and they've got some DBs that can muddy it up back there in the secondary. So it will. This is going to be a fun watch, guys. It's going to be another close game. I'm going to be on tomorrow previewing this game with a former player. Stay tuned for that. Should be a good time for sure. And anything else we need to mention heading out? I don't think so.
I think we covered a lot of ground here. Yeah. I think it's just gonna be, yeah. It's gonna be a wait and see with Devante and this team has handled adversity so many times this season, whether it's having to figure out without Puka. And good news, you know, with Puka, at least it was just a cramp, as you said on our Sunday post game.
Cramp.
And I mean, this is a team that's been tested all season long, so it's just another one they'll have to figure out, and I'm sure they will somehow.
I think they certainly will. They're definitely going to show up for this one. Absolutely. And appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, we'll be back tomorrow with plenty more Rams coverage.
Hey, Ramley, thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching the Rams LAFB show. Quickly before you go, got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. It's the #1 sports app right now, and you've got to download it because it's got so many great features that I want to tell you about. Aside from season-long fantasy, which is the best in the business, they've also got live score trackers, in-game updates, plus the live chat where you can actually communicate with other users right on the app. But perhaps the best feature, at least that I like, is the daily fantasy feature or the live pick'em. Just pick 2 to 8 players across any sport, baseball, basketball, hockey, obviously football and our Rams. You're going to choose a player, just choose more or less. Matthew Stafford, more or less passing yards. Kyren Williams, more or less rushing yards, more or less touchdowns. 2 to 8, you can win real money. So when you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code RAMSLAFB, and Sleeper's going to give you a match bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, they're going to give you $100 free. You're now sitting at $200. You put in $10, they're going to match you $10. You're now sitting at $20. But on top of that, right now, Sleeper is offering all new user signups a $20 free entry, no deposit required. Go sign up. You're automatically invested $20 straight from Sleeper. But you can stack that offer with that match bonus offer to add more money. Just make sure to use that promo code RAMSLAFB. Go check out Sleeper. Download it today. Tell them the guys at the Rams LAFB sent you. And as always, Ramley, thank you so much for making us a part of your day.